Jennifer here from Belladonna's Botanicals and broadcasting from a new location. Unless you watched our live stream from last week, decided to get a new chair, which I've had to negotiate with the cats in order to use. Because since I put said chair back together last Saturday, it has always had a cat in it because it's new and now they love it. So I send some healing vibes to Corey, who has been displaced by me having to record videos using the chair. I got the chair so I could record over here instead of on my sofa. Anyways, yeah. That aside, so I thought I'd make some new content this week. I'm a little late at it. I usually do it earlier in the week, but what did I want to talk about today? So, I think and this is going to be another installment in the series of Jennifer's insights on things. But one of the things I wanted to talk about is something probably you heard from your parents a lot growing up, is accepting no as an answer. And I find this is something when it comes to magical workings and rituals, especially, and even sometimes advice. Sometimes the answer is no, like, no, that's not possible, I mean, sure, you can try, but if you're asking for someone's advice, you're asking for someone to do a ritual for you, and they're like, yeah, no, I'm not comfortable with that. No, it's not possible. Sometimes that's the answer you need to hear at that time. And you need to sort of accept that. Like, I've seen a lot because we talk, the various occult practitioners, and we will see the same person hitting up multiple ritualists with the same request. And a lot of times these requests are like, okay, you turn off the TV in Hollywood because it's not like that. I don't mean to be catty or burst anyone's bubble, but sometimes a dose of reality is needed. But the thing is when you're told, at least by one, I mean, if you want to see if there's someone else to do it, there's a reason. We're using our expertise, we're using our judgment, and we know from trial and error what's possible and what is a 1 in a bazillion chance of working. So if you're shopping that around, now, and the warning in this, it's not that I'm just here being like, don't do that because I said so, and to be a big meanie about it, is you will find unscrupulous people who will be more than happy to take your money for your pipe dream, and you get nothing in return for it. So like a common theme that a lot of occultists see is people wanting a ritual or a spell or some type of spirit to give them the winning lotto numbers. Now, I'm not a numerologist, but there's a lot of variations to that, and specificities. Whether if you just do something, say, I want to get the Powerball, winning numbers. Well, I don't play the lottery because I think it's a waste of money, but if it's a state lottery, there's 50 states in the United States. If it's federal, pick a day of the week, a month of a year, you might get some winning numbers. Who knows what day, month, or year they're from, because there's a lot of variables that go into that. I could just spout off a random number string right now. Is that going to be the winning numbers? I could intuitively channel a whole bunch of numbers, but that might not. Chances are, an infinite probability, that sure, there's a 1 in, however many, say 1 in a billion chance you could get the winning numbers from something. I mean, sure, you can try. Do you want to waste money on having, paying a ritualist to channel some numbers, or, say, oh, the spirit will come to you in a dream and give you the numbers? You may as well just flush your money down the toilet at that point, to be honest. And that is just being honest. When people are giving you their opinion of something to say, hey, this is probably not possible. It's something to listen to. Like, it's like, sure, this might, and in other circumstances, like, sure, okay, this series of things, actions for spells or rituals might work towards this end goal, but you have to look at all the unforeseen, mundane things that might come up in that as you're working magically towards that goal. So sure, magically you might be able to mind control someone, to, whatever, give you their car, or, whatever, but you might find yourself on the end of some legal proceedings, or accused of theft or something like that. So, or manipulating someone. There are plenty of people in, probably sure, around the world that take advantage of elderly people or disabled people, to swindle them out of money. So there are protections in place for this. And unless you've calculated every single risk and like done magic to prevent all those things from happening, chances are it's not going to work. And this sometimes goes with manipulative love spells type things. Now, it's fine if you want to, change the energy, draw love and abundance into your life and all of that. But if you're really doing some deeply manipulative love spell stuff, especially now, if there's a history of like, maybe this person has a protection against abuse order against you, or a restraining order or something. Do you want to get, suddenly have stalker charges and be, the legal things that come there too? Because that can happen. Because if I had a protection from abuse from someone and a restraining order against them, and I found out they were using, hiring ritual magicians to try to get close to me, I could, put that in a legal case, in whether it be formal charges of calling the police or putting it towards the legal case, but as a breach of, that protection from abuse, or, adding stalker charges to it. So these are some mundane things you kind of have to think of. So when you're approaching ritualists, and sometimes, we have our intuition on things, and when you get the creepy stalker vibes from someone, the last thing I want to do is what we want to do is to do a love spell for someone who is like, trying to get back together with someone they abused, and people will do this stuff. I mean, it's but whether it works or not is another story. So I guess my message in this, and the insights I'm trying to impart, is that if you're approaching a ritualist, and if you approach multiple ones, and you get a string of no's and reasons why that, this is probably not doable, and when you get, down the alley, because will always be someone willing to take your money, but buyer be warned, you'll get what you pay for, and sometimes that's ripped off. Because I honestly, the majority of divination and channeling work I do is is to double check spell work that was done by other practitioners to see if it was actually done or working. And sometimes I know these practitioners, and I know their work. So, because there are no guarantees. Sometimes things don't work, and sometimes the reason they don't work is because there's a larger lesson. The spirit world loves to teach a good lesson, and I know I've talked about that before. So there may need some karmic lessons that you need to deal with, or some healing, or some self-work, and you might go, oh, magic doesn't work, or, why aren't my spells working? Well, eventually you'll figure out why. Maybe you need to get over that ex you're stalking, or, have more realistic expectations in. Now, I realize that that's a bit of a dichotomy, using realistic and magic in the same thing, but there are realistic expectations when it comes to what is possible. I can't just go pew 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 and shoot lasers out of the palms of my hands. Not possible. I mean, I could get a contraption that could shoot lasers out of my hands, possibly, or I could do some CGI on my video and go pew pew and shoot some laser out of my hands, but can't just do it, you know? So in that case, that is beyond the realm of possibility right now. Maybe in the future, who knows? So it's sometimes accepting no as an answer. And maybe that's not what you want to hear. And I really want to impart these type of messages because there's a lot of unscrupulous people out there who will give guaranteed bulletproof results on their spell work and rituals and stuff like that. And I would never guarantee any of it because who knows? Things work, sometimes they don't. I've talked about it. I have a video on divine timing where I talked about it. It could take a spell, it can work in 30 minutes or 30 years, or never. So all these things need to be taken into consideration, and especially with there's a lot of newer people coming into the occult and looking for magical solutions to things. And I want them to be aware of the fact that there are unscrupulous people here who will be happy to be like, money, please, and take your money and not do anything, and you're out money. Because there's a lot of predatory, even like there are predatory organizations and stuff out there, like professional organizations that's like, oh yes, pay us, your membership fee of $1,000 a year, and you'll get all this, publicity, and you'll belong to this organization, and you'll get all this stuff, and then at the end of the year you realize you paid money and gotten nothing for it, because it was all empty words, or it's a pay to play kind of thing. There's a lot of predatory organizations that target small businesses, claiming to be, women empowerment and things like that. I'm probably getting a little off topic there, but that exists. So, and that's something that you have to be aware of, that, when who's who of whatever calls and says, oh, well, for $800, we can list you in the who's who of yakety schmackety, and you'll get all this, free publicity and all these business leads and whatnot. You probably won't. And you will spend $800 on nothing. Or they get you in the door with one thing, and then it's like, well, we'll put you in our magazine. That's another $1,500. Or, well, we'll do a podcast with you for another, $1,500. Or I'm just pulling numbers out of my ass. But, so these are things to be aware of, that there are a lot of predatory people out there. I mean, look at how many people like hijack, they create duplicate social media accounts for various occultists and practitioners and tarot readers. Then they go around messaging people and whatnot, like, oh, hey, trying to solicit you for a reading. You pay them for a reading, you don't get anything, and then the person who they're mimicking looks bad. Well, some of that is on you. I mean, most people I know are never going to message you and be like, hey, I'd like to do a reading for you. That's not how we do business. There are people that do business that way, and I usually go click delete. That you'll see on, there's a lot of like the more, I don't know how to, like the more like, I won't say sideshow, that's not the right word, but like the tarot and psychic medium people who are just frauds, basically. They're just, it's like calling, like back in the day when you call the psychic network and for like, $10.99 a minute, that you get, advice, psychic advice or whatnot. If you want to piss your money away that way, I can't stop you, but I can at least advise you to, do better and find reputable sources. And again, it comes back to sometimes no is the answer. So, and I've had to learn that lesson. Like, I kind of put a little restriction on myself when it for something, and like I tried to find a workaround for it, and the spirit was just like, no, we're not going to give you an answer on that. Tried a couple different ways, and they're like, no. I'm like, all right, damn me. But anyways, so that's just my little bit of advice on accepting no for an answer. And I know some people have probably lived their whole entire lives never hearing the word no, because there's a lot of entitlement in the world too. But now, how about no? No is a complete sentence. Anyways, I love you all. Thank you for watching, and don't forget to click like and subscribe, and click the notification button to be notified when we drop new content and go live and all that stuff. So, love y'all.